relying on the public transport. Oh, sorry. Welcome to Millennial Immigrant, where we discuss all things immigration and finance. Go ahead and subscribe, and let's build a wonderful community where we share ideas on how to succeed. How I would go ahead and make that choice on the Canadian province to live in today. There are lots of factors to consider. The number one factor I would consider is this: language. And when you talk about language, we know that Canada is a bilingual country. What do we mean? We speak two languages, which is English and French. And if you're going to be making the choice on which province to live in, you have to consider what language you speak and what language you're interested in speaking. For instance, if you're an English-speaking person or a family, but you want your family to speak French, the best way to learn is usually by exposing yourself to that situation. And a province like Quebec and New Brunswick will be ideal for someone who is English speaking but want to learn how to speak French. Okay. On the other hand, if you are already an English speaking person and you're considering going to a province that is already English speaking, you would move to the rest of the country, including the territories. You guys know we have 3 territories, right? The Yukon, the Northwest Territory, and Nunavut. They're all English-speaking side of the country. The second factor you have to consider is cost of living. When it comes to cost of living, we're thinking of a few things here, like housing costs, like cost on consumables, like groceries and insurances, utility bills, stuff like that. For instance, if you go to a place like Labrador, it's in the middle of nowhere, which means cost of transportation of those goods there will be more. In other words, the cost of buying those items in the grocery store will be more, right? On the other hand, areas where there's dense population, things are usually cheaper, especially in the southern part of the country. And then insurances. I'll just give you an idea of what I'm talking about here. The car insurance, for instance, in a place like rural Manitoba will be way cheaper than living in Toronto. I know because I've had those stories, right? Home insurance in small town is usually less than home insurance in big cities. The reason is obvious. And the cost of utility bills is usually higher in certain provinces. Like I know that in Manitoba and Saskatchewan, they pay way less than the rest of the country. Like you could get like a whole plan that has about, say, 10 gig of data and unlimited calling Canada-wide, unlimited texting. It could even give you extra perks that you can call Europe and Asia and all that, and you just pay $65. But the same plan could cost about maybe 110 if you want to get something like that in a bigger province like BC. I know for sure in Saskatchewan and Manitoba they pay the least phone bill in the country. So cost of living is key. Third factor I would consider is the job market. Within your own industry, you need to explore the job opportunities because they can vary from province to province or even territory to territory here. As much as it's very important for you to do your due diligence in finding jobs, you need to look for 2 key things in the job market, which is quality job opportunities and job security. So when we are talking about quality job opportunities here, we mean quality job opportunities, obviously. I'll give you an instance here. A province like Ontario, it's the most densely populated province in the country. There are lots of businesses, they are constantly hiring, but there's something there that's always missing. These businesses usually outsource these jobs to agencies, and these agencies now hire people for those specific tasks, right? And what these businesses try to avoid is to try to avoid helping you build a pension, because they're not going to be paying you benefits like pension, dental insurance, lots of other things that most quality jobs will bring. So people end up taking contracts, trying to make the best income they can. But those jobs are not quality jobs. People stay on such jobs and work a whole lifetime and have no pension.
Oh, hell no!
Job security is key. Nobody wants to get a job today and next minute they've lost the job. It's pointless taking a job if you're going to lose it the next day. Recently, a province like Alberta, I think that was October 13 this year, the Alberta Health Services announced that they are going to be cutting 11,000 jobs of AHS, Alberta Health Services. Even though this is not going to be affecting frontline workers like doctors and nurses, but it's going to affect a lot of people who are working in this healthcare sector. And it's not just healthcare that's usually affected when governments try to come up with all these austerity measures where they're trying to cut costs, balance the budget. So there's no job security there. And this province we are talking about, Alberta, is usually in the middle of all this. Every time you put on the news, they are cutting jobs. In 2015, they did the same thing. In 2017, the oil market dropped. There was massive layoff. So this is a province that relies so much on oil. When the oil prices fluctuates, it's going to cause a lot of chaos. So you want to consider some of those things when you're making that choice of where to move to. Are they a province that relies exclusively on certain natural resources, or would they be able to weather the storm regardless of the economic situation, right? Some provinces rely so much on tourism, some rely so much on oil, some rely on fishery, so you want to know what helps this provincial economy, and that's going to help you know if there's going to be security, longevity on the job, and all that. Another factor to consider is this: the housing market. We've just talked about job markets. Now I think housing market is huge. Why is housing market so important? Think about it this way. One of the largest capital intensive venture you and I will incur in our lives is buying a home. And the housing market is constantly fluctuating in price. Again, the resale value of homes do not appreciate faster in certain places and cities. And sometimes they even stay longer in the market when you want to sell the property. So you have to think about things like this. Just look at it in a scenario now. You have a job in a smaller, mid-sized city, and your mortgage in that city is going to be less than your rent in a bigger city, where you're going to get the same kind of job, same quality of job. Just make that decision yourself. Would you live in that big city and be paying someone's mortgage by paying them rent? Or would you rather take same income and live in a place where your mortgage is just as low as someone's rent in a bigger city? But there's a different side to this. In a situation where the market is usually slow for sellers, say you put up your house for sale and it takes months for you to sell, it's not a good place for someone who wants to go into real estate business, because you don't want to go to a place where there's so much inventory in the market and there is less buyers. You know how it works. And there is high demand and less supply, prices go up. So if you go to a city where there's so much inventory, that means there's so much supply, right? And there's less demand. So it works the other way around, vice versa. You end up not making so much profit because the house is sitting in the market. It's usually a buyer's market rather than a seller's market. So if you're in real estate and you want to be flipping houses, you're not going to be making profit in a buyer's market. On the flip side, like I've already mentioned earlier, if you're thinking of spending less on housing while you make a good income, you may also consider living in a city with less traffic, less number of people who are looking to buy a house, because truth is, houses will be cheaper for you. You'll be able to afford it with ease, you know. So that's one factor to consider. Another factor to consider is weather condition. People keep saying it's cold. Oh, I cannot go to Winnipeg. I can't go to Saskatchewan. It's too cold there. And I will just stay in my JJ Toronto. Toronto is just as cold as Saskatchewan. If you have a good paying job, your workplace is warm, the car you're driving to work is warm, the house you're going to live in is warm. So why are you worrying about how cold? Maybe the distance between your car to the grocery store, or maybe the entrance to your workplace, that's the only time you'll feel cold. And you're wearing jackets. You're just coming out from a warm car and you have maybe at most 100 footsteps if you park far away to get into your workplace. You're not going to freeze to death. If you have a quality job in a place where you consider colder than the rest of the country, but you have a good job, I don't see why you should worry about being cold. There are some people in this same country who live in areas that they are paying out of their noses, like there's so much stress trying to just pay for their cost of living. But the thing that's holding them back is weather. So, in my opinion here, weather should not be a factor. Some people function better in a warmer climate, but Canada generally is not that warm. If you're thinking of going to a place that's warm, just go to BC. But we know that some people's mental health and even physical health and lifestyle is affected by the cold. What do I mean? Some people get depressed, and some people have health issues that when it's cold, they have flare-ups. I understand that. So if you're in that category, yeah, it makes sense considering going to BC. Another key thing that I personally think that you should be considering as another very, very important factor is education. Some people on this platform are professionals who want to get their licenses when they move here, like teachers in their home country, engineers, architects, nurses, doctors. You want to research how you can transition into your professional career in that province, what the requirements are, and which province would give you less stress to get your license, because the ultimate goal is to get yourself a good paying job and good life so you can start to fit in economically. You're looking at that. If you have children who are about to go into the university, you need to consider the tuition cost as well. Why is tuition cost important? Like, yeah, you could be a civil engineer in your home country and you studied in a university in your country, and you come down here and you become certified as an engineer and you get a civil engineer job. I'm just saying, you're going to earn the same thing as somebody who spent money going to the most expensive school in the country, if you get the same jobs, obviously, right? For instance, somebody who studied nursing, for instance, in rural Imo State, if you go through the whole registration process and get your license, you're going to get the same pay as somebody who studied in University of Toronto. The same nursing. If you get the same job, same place, same day. So why do you want to spend more money? Or why do you want to go to a city where you're going to spend more money to accomplish the same goal? So tuition costs in an education system that makes it easy for you to transition into your career, it's something I will consider. There is one thing that I think I'm just going to give this away here. I usually look at this one. I would look at it today and tomorrow and next. Is migration advantage. What do I mean here? There are some perks that come with certain provinces. So every province may have their own perks. You want to check any province you're interested in and check if they have some perks. The perks could be like loan forgiveness. If you're already in Canada, let's say you went to because I know some people who are going to watch this could also be living in Canada. They could be permanent residents or citizens or even new graduates who somehow got access to loans, right? And they are looking at paying off. By the way, I'm all for anybody who wants to pay off their loan because it can hold you back from progress. And student debt is not a bad debt if you study the right thing. If you study something that can give you a job, because some people say, oh, I have passion, and then they go study crap. Anyway, if you have certain career and there is high demand for you in some parts of the province may have some loan forgiveness program in existence, right? Or even at federal level, they make arrangements for loan forgiveness for certain professions. Some people could be coming from even a different province where they have student loans and they are medical doctors, and there is so much demand for a doctor in maybe rural Manitoba, somewhere isolated. The federal government may write off certain portion of your student loan just to encourage you to stay there. So the longer you stay, the faster you pay off your loan. Those are migration advantages that I think you should also think of. Some provinces have provincial nominee system that allows you the opportunity to nominate either a family member or a friend, and then you follow up with this whole process for this family member to relocate. Not every province has such perks. If it's something that interests you and you think, oh, it'd be nice to nominate my cousin to also move here and have their permanent residence, you have to think of, okay, yeah, I'll move to this province for that reason. It's an advantage. Another thing we need to consider is this commute time and public transportation system in the place you're going to. For the most part, the smaller the city, the less commute time from point A to point B. So if you're going from work to home, you're not spending 25 hours in that drive. 25 minutes. Spending maybe 10 minutes. That saves you money on gas. That saves you stress on traffic. Even some people have road rage. Nah, it's just a smooth drive. Maybe some people just drive 5 minutes. Some people just walk. So commute is less. And then some people don't want to buy a car. They just want to use public transport. There are some areas where you move to, you're not going to get a bus. If you don't have a car, you're going to be stuck waiting for that bus. Times could be every 5 hours or every 3 hours, depending on peak periods. They have set times. So early in the morning, they show up and they pick people who are going to work or school. And then between 9 o'clock and 1 o'clock, no bus. Maybe just one bus every 3 hours. So if the time you usually go out to work is around 1 and you're relying on the public transport, you cannot rely on public transportation in areas like that. So you have to think of, yes, now I'm going to need to buy a car. Those are factors to consider. So talking about support here, support this channel. We will bring you valuable content on this channel. So subscribe, smash that like button, and share to as many friends as you have. Thank you all.